Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Bexar County Court at Law number 6 in the Bexar County Veterans Treatment Court plea docket. Today is Thursday, September 23rd, 2021. The cases I have on my docket for today are cause number 660203, State of Texas versus Robert Mattis, represented by Mr. John Garcia. Cause 657330, State of Texas versus Chad Hammonds, represented by Mr. Ivan Barrera. Cause number 658446, State of Texas versus Jacob Lopez, represented by Mr. Ron Zimmerman. Cause number 651571, State of Texas versus Damian Olivo, represented by Miss Elizabeth Russell. Cause number 636126, State of Texas versus Christina Munoz, represented by Mr. Randall Griner. Cause number 588035, State of Texas versus Nicholas Mora, represented by Mr. Philip Lambert. Cause number 629302, State of Texas versus Monnier Melancon, represented by Mr. Kirk Sherman. And cause 666630, State of Texas versus Natalie Torres, represented by Mr. Andrew Priest. We're going to take them in batches of 4. The first cases we're going to utilize today is cause 660203, State of Texas versus Robert Mattis Jr. Mr. Garcia, are you ready to proceed?
Yes, we are, Your Honor.
Thank you. Next one is 657330, State of Texas versus Chad W. Hammonds. Mr. Barrera, are you ready to proceed?
I'm ready, Your Honor.
Thank you. Next, we have cause 658446, State of Texas versus Jacob R. Lopez. Mr. Zimmerman, are you ready to proceed?
I believe so, Judge.
Thank you. And last, we have cause 651571, State of Texas versus Damian C. Olivo, represented by Miss Elizabeth Russell. Miss Russell, are you ready to proceed?
Here, Judge.
Thank you. For the record, representing the state today will Mr. Guillermo Flores and Miss Megan Galloway.
Judge?
Yeah.
Susan, may I make an announcement?
Sure.
If any of you defendants or attorneys know that your defendant resides outside of Bexar County or will be moving outside of Bexar County or outside the state, you need to let the judge know before you plea. That's all, Judge.
All right, thanks. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, at this time, I'm looking at a document for each of you. Said document's title is Defendant's Consent to Plea by Video Conference, which purports to have all defendants and all attorneys' signatures on it. Mr. Mattis, in cause 660203, is this your signature on this document, sir?
You should be there.
Thank you. And Mr. Garcia, as attorney for Mr. Mattis, is this also your signature on this document?
It is, Your Honor.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, I was muted.
Thank you, sir. And cause 657330, Mr. Hammonds, is this your signature on this document, sir?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. And Mr. Barrera, as attorney for Mr. Hammonds, is this also your signature on this document?
It is, Your Honor, and this is he's actually a Dallas County resident, Your Honor.
Okay. Thank you for letting us know that. Mr. Lopez, in cause 658446, is this your signature on this document, sir?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Mr. Zimmerman, as attorney for Mr. Lopez, is this also your signature on this document?
Yes, it is, Judge.
Thank you. Mr. Olivo, in cause 651571, is this your signature on this document, sir?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. And Ms. Russell, as attorney for Mr. Olivo, is this also your signature on this document?
Yes, Judge.
The next document I have is entitled Defendant's Waiver of Constitutional Rights and Court's Admonitions. It purports to have your signatures on the back, effectively waiving certain constitutional rights you must waive in order to enter a plea before this court. In fact, Mr. Mattis, is this your signature on this document also?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Mr. Hammond, is this also your signature on this document?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Mr. Lopez, is this your signature on this document also, sir?
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you. And Mr. Olivo, is this your signature on this document also, sir?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. By signing this document, are each of you telling me that you've had enough time to either read this document or have it read to you in its entirety? If you had any questions about what was on this document, those questions were answered to your satisfaction by your attorneys. So that in signing this document, you're telling me that you agree with and understand everything on this document. Is that correct, Mr. Mattis?
Yes, sir.
Is that correct, Mr. Hammond?
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you. Is that correct, Mr. Lopez?
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you. Is that correct, Mr. Olivo?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Mr. Garcia, as attorney for Mr. Mattis, have you had enough time to go over this case with him? And in your opinion, is he mentally competent?
Yes, I have, Your Honor, and yes, he is.
Thank you. Same question for Mr. Barrera as attorney for Mr. Hammond.
I have and he is, Your Honor.
Thank you. Same question for Mr. Zimmerman as attorney for Mr. Lopez.
Yes, I believe he is, Judge.
Thank you. Same question for Ms. Russell, as attorney for Mr. Olivo.
I have and he is, Judge.
Thank you. Mr. Mattis, are you a United States citizen, sir?
Yes, sir.
Same question for Mr. Hammond.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Same question for Mr. Lopez.
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you. And same question for Mr. Olivo.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Mr. Garcia, has the state fully complied with discovery for you on Mr. Mattis' case?
They have, Your Honor.
Same question for Mr. Barrera with regard to Mr. Hammond's case.
It's complied, Your Honor.
Thank you. Same question for Mr. Zimmerman with regard to Mr. Lopez's case.
Yes, the state's complied.
Thank you. Same question for Ms. Russell with regard to Mr. Olivo's case.
Yes, Judge.
Thank you. Let's see what we're doing here. Mr. Mattis, to the charge of criminal trespass on private property, how do you plead, sir?
No contest.
Is there an agreement for Mr. Mattis?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes, sir.
6 months, deferred adjudication, $300 fine, court costs, 24 hours of community service, and no contact with 3805 Farm Road, San Antonio, Texas, 78223.
And Mr. Garcia, is that your understanding of the agreement?
It is, Your Honor.
Mr. Mattis, in cause 660-203, the court accepts your plea of no contest to the offense of criminal trespass on private property. Although I have enough evidence to find you guilty, I'm going to withhold a finding of guilt. Place you on 6 months, deferred adjudication probation, assessing a $600 fine plus court cost, 24 hours community service, or do you have no contact with 3805 Farm Road, San Antonio, Texas, 78223? Anything further from the state of the defense on Mr. Mattis?
Nothing further, Your Honor.
Okay. Good luck, Mr. Mattis, and thank you, Mr. Garcia. Susan, do you need to brief everybody on probation stuff?
No, Judge, just that they'll receive an email with reporting instructions for intake probably within the next 48 hours. If you do not receive an email, you can reach out to the intake department and I can give you that phone number. So everybody write this down. 210-335-7446. Again, 210-335-7446. So if you haven't heard from them by Monday at noon, then I would give them a call and let them know that you were placed on probation and you need to set up an orientation.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
To the judge, how fast do I have to pay that $600 and do I have to pay it all at once?
No,
Go ahead, Sue.
no, it will be broken down into monthly payments, but you are expected to make that payment on a monthly basis. And
Okay.
once you go through orientation, they're going to send you to the collections department and the collections department will set up a payment plan. And then you're expected to make that amount of money payment every single month.
But I could also
Over
pay
the-
after than just payments as well.
You can pay ahead of schedule, but it's not a good idea to pay behind schedule.
Okay.
I've put the number on the line for everyone. So if you need it, just look at your chat and that will be the phone number.
Okay, for Mr. Mattis and Mr. Garcia and all other defendants and attorneys, the last thing I'm going to do when I send in our plea today is recall all pretrial matters that I may have ordered the defendant to do. If I've got you on GPS or I've got you on Scram or something, that's all going to get rescinded. So that'll be taken care of. All right, anything further from the state or the defense on Mr. Mattis?
Nothing,
No, sir.
Your Honor. Thank you.
All right, good luck, Mr.
No, Your Honor.
Mattis. Thank you, Mr. Garcia. Y'all are dismissed. Let's see what we're doing on Mr. Hammonds here. Mr. Hammonds, to the charge of unlawfully carrying a weapon. How do you plead, sir?
No contest.
Is there an agreement for Mr. Hammonds, please?
Your Honor, the agreement is 12 months deferred adjudication, $450 fine, and we ask that the court probate $150 of that fine. Court cost 45 hours community service, firearm safety class, DOEP class, forfeiture of weapon to the DA's office, a gang evaluation, and random UAs.
Mr. Barrera, what kind of weapon is this? I know it's a handgun. I'm trying to determine if it's quality worth keeping or something we need to destroy.
Judge, I believe it's a 380.
You know what make it is?
I can find out in 1 second, Judge. It's a Cobra.
Judge, it's a
Okay, it's not a very expensive gun. State, you want to destroy it, or do you want me to award it to you?
Your Honor, we would ask that you award it to the DA's office.
Okay. And otherwise, Mr. Barrera, is that your understanding of the agreement?
It is, Your Honor. And just two things. He would like probation to be transferred to Dallas County, where he's a resident of, and he'd like to make a donation instead of physically completing the service hours.
Okay, Susan, any problem transferring a UCW probation to Dallas?
No, sir, there shouldn't. I would just ask that the DAs immediately send me a police report.
Okay, I'm sure they'll be happy to do that.
We have to have that in order to transfer the case, Your Honor. That's why I'm here in these hearings now.
I understand. Okay, let's make sure I get this right. Mr. Hammonds, in cause 657-330, the court accepts your plea of no contest to the offense of unlawfully carrying a weapon handgun. Although I have enough evidence to find you guilty, I'm going to withhold a finding of guilt. Place you on 1 year deferred adjudication probation. It says a $450 fine, probating $150 of that, plus court costs, 45 hours community service, a firearm safety course, DOEP course. Motion to forfeit the weapon to the Bexar County Criminal District Attorney's Office is granted. Gang evaluation, regular urinalysis test, transfer probation to Dallas County. Ivan, what did I miss?
Nothing, Judge. And on the weapon, is there any way we can release that to me?
I'm sorry, is there any way you can do what now?
Release the weapon to me?
Well, that's what I initially looked at. The weapon is not really worth very much. It's a Cobra 380. So I'm going to give it to the DA's office this time.
Understood, Judge.
Otherwise, I destroy it. It's not that good. Okay, State, did I miss anything?
No, Your Honor, nothing further from the state.
We're getting a lot of background noise. If I'm not specifically talking to you at this time, please turn your microphone off and you can turn it back on when I am talking to you. Thanks for your help. Okay, takes care of Mr. Hammonds. Thank you, Mr. Hammonds and Mr. Barrera. Y'all are dismissed. Mr. Zimmerman and Mr. Lopez in cause 658-446. State, you've got a motion on this one up here. No, is it starting out as an obstruction or is it starting out as a DWI?
A DWI, Your Honor.
All right, make your motion, State.
Your Honor, state moves to amend the charging instrument to add count 2 obstruction.
No objection, Your Honor.
That'll be granted. Go ahead.
Your Honor, state waives and abandons count 1 and proceeds on count 2 obstruction.
Once again, no objection from the defense. That will be granted.
Okay.
Okay, and this was a straight DWI. It didn't have any bells and whistles with it. Oh, it's got an open container. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor, and the state moves to waive and abandon.
The state is going to move to amend the information and add the obstruction of a highway paragraph. Then it's going to waive count 1 and the enhancement. Would that be accurate?
That is correct, Your Honor.
All right, great.
No objection, Your Honor.
Thank you. That's all granted. Therefore, Mr. Lopez, to the charge of obstruction of a highway, how do you plead, sir?
Guilty, Your Honor.
Is there an agreement for Mr. Lopez?
Your Honor, the agreement is 12 months deferred adjudication, $675 fine, court cost, 48 hours community service, DWI education, victim impact panel, cat snip, and Smart Start Mobile for half the term.
And defense, is that your understanding of the agreement?
Yes, it is, Judge. If we may speak to a couple of items on that agreement.
Go ahead.
Okay, Mr. Lopez is currently on bond and already has the ignition interlock installed in his vehicle. Instead of a Smart Start Mobile, we would request from the court that he be required to keep the ignition interlock in his vehicle for half the term.
Nice try, not gonna happen. Here's my issue. And it's not just with Mr. Lopez, it's with everybody. When I have him on a Smart Start Mobile portable device, I can monitor him 24 hours a day. Otherwise, if I was a creative young person who had perhaps gotten a DWI because I made a mistake, I'd have two cars and one would have the ignition interlock in it and the other would not. And when I was drinking, I would drive the one without the ignition interlock. Now you might wonder how I know that, because for the last, 18 years or so, we've had a couple of dozen people, they got rearrested for DWIs, driving cars without ignition interlock. So I apologize, it's that way, but it's that way.
Okay, thank you, Judge. We have a couple another
Sure.
item. On the $675 fine, could we give Mr. Lopez time to pay that in monthly installments?
Well, of course, everybody does. Susan just explained that. They're going to take all the monies he owes. He's going to get the minimum supervisory fee with the probation department, which is $25 a month, like every other defendant in County Court 6. They add all that together, they divide by 12, and he's going to have a monthly payment program to pay the fine and court costs and monthly supervisory fee. Okay?
That's great, Judge. Thank you.
Anything else? That it?
That's it.
All good. All right. Anything further from the state or the defense on Mr. Lopez?
Nothing from the state, Your Honor.
Okay. As soon as Mr. Lopez gets his Smart Start Mobile active, he can take off the ignition interlock. Okay?
All right. Thank you, Judge. And nothing further from the defense.
Y'all are dismissed. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge.
And we've got Mr. Olivo. Let's see what we're doing on Mr. Olivo. Mr. Olivo in cause 651571 to the charge of criminal trespass. How do you plead, sir? And my records reflect we're talking no contest or criminal trespass. Is that correct, Ms. Russell?
That's correct, Judge.
Court accepts the plea of no contest to the offense of criminal trespass. Is there an agreement for Mr. Olivo?
Judge, the state has a recommendation.
Go ahead.
The state recommends 6 months deferred adjudication, $300 fine. We ask the court to prorate $200 of the fine. Court costs, DOEP, 24 hours of community service, regular UAs, and no contact with Moises Lara, his residence, and his property. Also, Your Honor, as part of the plea bargain agreement, the state will TIC reject JN number 2037640.
Could you give me the phone number for his officer and his...
All right, hang on a second, guys. Let me do some writing here. What kind of case is that? Possession of marijuana? Okay, I got it.
Yes, Judge.
And Ms. Russell, is that your understanding of the agreement?
It is, Judge. However, we discussed going to the court and asking for a judgment satisfied and in the alternative, and the state is not opposed to this.
Mr. Olivo have any prior offenses, state?
Judge, the checking right now.
Ms. Russell, we're not dealing with a serial killer here, are we?
We are not dealing with a serial killer, Judge.
The reason, Judge, the state's recommending deferred adjudication, Judge, is because that's because of the facts in this case. We believe that the defendant needs to be adequately supervised. And I can explain to the court some of the facts, Judge, but that's why the state's recommending deferred.
All right. Is there a problem with the state telling me their side of what happened in this case? And then, of course, Ms. Russell can clarify that from her perspective also. I mean, what does the criminal trespass consist of that we're dealing with here?
Yes, Your Honor. So according to the police report, Judge, Mr. Olivo, just give me one moment. So in that case, Judge, the defendant was inside of the complainant's house or home. The complainant woke up and he noticed a male sleeping in the bed. He thought it was his brother, but it was not his brother, it was the defendant. Later on, the complainant brother was in a different part of the house. And so this, it appears that the defendant and the complainant, they have no relationship. They don't know each other, Judge. So it's just that, in my opinion, if someone breaks into someone else's house, that can be a dangerous situation.
Ms. Russell, have you got any variations on that theme?
No, Judge, other than the fact that my client was mistaken as to whose house it was. He thought it was his. He'd had too much to drink and he made a mistake. He has no criminal history and the state wants him to be on probation because they want to make sure that he doesn't go back to this house.
Okay.
I'm under the belief that he won't go back to this house because he doesn't know this person and it was a mistake. And the alternative, if he had actually known this person, that might be a true concern. But he has no reason to return to this house. He has no intention of returning to this house. And I think 3 days on a criminal trespass for someone that has no criminal history is appropriate here.
How did Mr. Olivo get in the house? Was the front door just unlocked and he just walked in?
I don't think he remembers, Judge.
State, do you remember?
I'm not sure, Your Honor. I don't see that in the report.
Did Mr. Olivo have any prior offenses of any consequence?
Judge, so I know that he had a felony case, but that by the felony prosecutor.
It was dismissed, Judge. Mr. Flores cut out.
That's what lawyers are made for. Is this filed as a criminal trespass of a habitation as a Class A, or what is this filed as?
It is filed as a Class A, Judge.
All right.
That's correct, Judge.
Well, I'm assuming Mr. Olivo entered a plea to criminal trespass Class A of no contest, right?
He did, Your Honor.
All right. Okay, Mr. Olivo, in cause 651-571, the court accepts your plea of no contest to the offense of criminal trespass of a habitation. Although I have enough evidence to find you guilty, I'm going to withhold a finding of guilt, place you on 6 months, deferred adjudication probation. It says a $300 fine, probating. Let's see, we're probating how much here?
200, Judge.
200 of that. Thank you. Plus court costs, DOEP course, 24 hours community service, regular urinalysis test, no contact with Moises Lara or his property, and taking into consideration J is in Juliet, N is in November, number 2037640, which will be rejected by DA intake. Does that sound right, State?
Yes, Your Honor.
And does that sound right, defense?
It does, Judge. The only other thing we'd request is the removal of Mr. Olivo's GPS monitor. I know you already addressed it, but we've had issues with probation as of late. And
I'm going to send all this in today, but it probably won't take effect till tomorrow. But we're going to recall all pretrial bond conditions. So if he's under GPS restriction or anything like that, it's all going to be removed tomorrow, so to speak. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Good luck, Mr. Olivo. Thank you, Ms. Russell.
And probation has nothing to do with
Thank
that
you.
removal. That all comes from the court.
All right. All right, thank you.
Okay. Let me get set up here on our last four.
Judge, this is Ron Zimmerman. If I may interject.
Sure.
I represent Mr. Lopez, Jacob Lopez, and he has informed me that he is a solar panel installer working for a company that sells solar panels. And on occasion, he is required for employment purposes to leave the jurisdiction of the court to leave the county. We would ask for permission for employment purposes for Mr. Lopez to leave the county if when necessary.
And when we're leaving the county, where are we going? Botswana or Seguin or where?
Within the state of Texas, Judge. He has indicated that on occasion he needs to go up to Dallas and other major cities.
How about this? He's got my permission to travel anywhere in the state of Texas as long as he's not spending the night outside of Bexar County without getting specific permission from the probation department. If he's going to spend the night, he needs to get permission, which of course I'll give him, and he's going to take an ETG-UA when he gets back. Okay.
Sounds reasonable, Judge. Thank you very much.
That's the plan. Let me write it down so I don't forget it. Okay, good to go on that.
All right. Thank you, Judge.
You bet. Okay, our next batch is called 636-126, State of Texas versus Christina E. Munoz. Mr. Griner, are you ready to proceed?
Yes, I am, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Judge, if I may interject here, Mr. Griner was supposed to provide the state with documentation of how many days his client was in custody in another county, and I don't believe that we have received that yet.
If Guillermo would check his email.
Mr. Griner, you provided a magistrate document. It does not contain the number of days that your client was in custody.
Well, I'll put her on there. She was there the day before and she got out on that day.
Let me interject here. Is this all boiled down to we need to have some sort of confirmation that Mr. Munoz was incarcerated in another county for a certain period of time? Is that correct, Randy?
Correct, Judge.
And then what is the defense side of that? How long was he incarcerated where?
It's a she, and she was incarcerated in Kerr County for 2
she
days.
was. For how long? 2 days?
2 days.
All right. And state, you want confirmation of that before you go forward? Is that what we're talking about?
Yes, we do, Your Honor. The agreement was for JSAT upon receipt of that paperwork.
Okay. Why was Miss Munoz in jail in Kerr County?
Because of this warrant, Your Honor.
Ah. And so state, what's the difference in the plea bargain you're offering with or without the 2 days jail time?
I'm sorry, Judge.
I'm sorry, I didn't.
In other words, I assume you have in mind a plea bargain if she has already spent 2 days in jail and then another one if she has not. Is that correct?
That's correct. So one offer was a JSAT and the other one was a community supervision offer.
Okay, well, how about this? I've only known Mr. Griner about 30 years, but he's never shined me on yet. My suggestion would be, let's take the plea, let's do the JSAT and assume that she's got 2 days in jail. And in the interim of the next 30 days, Mr. Griner will provide absolute irrefutable proof. Would that be fair? Because we can always come back and redo this if we have to. I have 30 days jurisdiction.
I have no objection.
Is that okay, state?
We have no objection, Your Honor.
All right, that's the plan. And the next one is cause 588-035, State of Texas versus Nicholas G. Mora. Mr. Lambert, are you ready to proceed? Mr. Lambert, are you with us?
Yeah, sure. Sorry, I had a phone call.
No, are you ready to proceed on Mr. Morris, please?
Ready to proceed, Your Honor.
All good, thanks. And the next one is 629-302, State of Texas versus Monier de Melancon with Mr. Sherman. Mr. Sherman, are you ready to proceed?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, Your Honor.
And last, we have cause 666630, State of Texas versus Natalie K. Torres with Mr. Andrew Priest. Mr. Priest, are you ready to proceed?
We're ready, Your Honor.
Thank you. At this time, ladies and gentlemen, I'm looking at documents on each of your files entitled Defendant's Consent to Plea by Video Conference, which purports to have each of your signatures on it. Mr. Munoz, is this your signature on this document, sir? Or Miss Munoz, I'm sorry. Is this your signature on this document, ma'am?
She's calling me right now, Judge. I don't know if she got disconnected or what.
You might have gotten kicked out.
Hello?
Hey, okay, so what does that mean?
You need to be back in on the Zoom call, okay?
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
Let's give her a minute and see if she can get back in. If not, we'll just put you off to the side and come back and catch up with you.
Might as well go ahead and put me off the side,
All
Judge.
right, we'll do that. Okay, Mr. Mora and Mr. Lambert, I'm looking at a document entitled Defendant's Consent to Plea by Video Conference that allegedly has your signatures on it. In fact, Mr. Mora, is this your signature, sir?
Yes, it is, sir.
Thank you. And Mr. Lambert, as attorney for Mr. Mora, is this also your signature?
It is, Your Honor.
Thank you. And Mr. Sherman and Ms. Melancon, in clause 629302, Ms. Melancon, is this your signature on this document?
Yes, Your Honor, it is.
And Mr. Sherman, as attorney for Ms. Melancon, is this also your signature on this document?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. And in clause 666630, Ms. Torres, is this your signature on this document?
Yes, sir.
And Mr. Priest, as attorney for Ms. Torres, is this also your signature on this document?
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Your Honor, Ms. Munoz is in.
Ms. Munoz, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'm looking at a document in your case number 636126, and your document title is Defendant's Consent to Plea by Video Conference. Is this your signature on this document, ma'am?
Yes, sir.
And Mr. Griner, as attorney for Ms. Munoz, is this also your signature on this document?
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you. The next document I'm looking at is entitled Defendant's Waiver of Constitutional Rights and Court's Admonitions that purports to have your signatures on the back, effectively waiving certain constitutional rights you must waive in order to enter a plea before this court. In fact, Ms. Munoz, is this your signature on this document also, ma'am?
Yes, sir.
And Mr. Mora, is this your signature on this document also?
It is, Your Honor.
And Ms. Melancon, is this your signature on this document, ma'am?
Yes, sir, it is, Your Honor.
And Ms. Torres, is this your signature on this document, ma'am?
Yes, Your Honor.
Each of you, by signing this document, are you telling me that you've had enough time to either read this document or have it read to you in its entirety? If you had any questions about what was on this document, those questions were answered to your satisfaction by your attorney. So that in signing this document, you're telling me that you agree with and understand everything on this document. Is that correct, Ms. Munoz?
Yes.
Is that correct, Mr. Mora?
That is correct, sir.
Is that correct, Ms. Melancon?
Yes, sir, it's correct.
Is that correct, Ms. Torres?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Mr. Griner, as attorney for Ms. Munoz, have you had enough time to go over this case with her? And in your opinion, is she mentally competent?
Yes and yes.
Thank you. Same question for Mr. Lambert, as attorney for Mr. Mora.
Yes to both, Your Honor.
Thank you. Same question for Mr. Sherman, as attorney for Ms. Melancon.
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank
Yes,
you.
sir.
Same question for Mr. Priest, as attorney for Ms. Torres.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Ms. Munoz, are you a United States citizen, ma'am?
Yes.
And same question for Mr. Mora.
I am.
Thank you. Same question for Ms. Melancon.
Yes, sir, I am.
Thank you. Same question for Ms. Torres.
Yes, Your Honor.
And Mr. Griner, as attorney for Ms. Munoz, does the state fully comply with discovery for you on this case?
Yes, they have.
Same question for Mr. Lambert, as attorney for Mr. Mora.
Yes, Your Honor.
Same question for Mr. Sherman, as attorney for Ms. Melancon.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Same question for Mr. Priest, as attorney for Ms. Torres.
They have, Your Honor.
Okay, let me find my document here. And Ms. Munoz, in cause 636126, to the charge of theft, $100 to $750. How do you plead, ma'am?
No contest.
Is there an agreement for Ms. Munoz?
Your Honor, the agreement is a $0 fine, court cost, 4 days Bear County Jail, credit for time served, time and money to run concurrent. And we asked that this judgment be satisfied upon receipt of proper paperwork. And just for purposes of the record, this defendant was never booked in Bear County, so she does not have any jail credit in Bear County.
And how many days jail time are we talking in this plea bargain?
Your Honor, it would be 4 days Bear County Jail under the sheriff's 2-for-1 rule.
And actually, she has 2 days in Kerr County Jail. Would that be correct, Mr. Griner?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. You're required to provide proof of that in the next, let's say, 10 days to the DA's office. Is that fair?
I've been trying to get through to Kerr County and I haven't been able to receive that verification from them.
We're not doing it for you. You got to do something. So, I mean, you got to provide some sort of proof. Hey, when's the last time I got to mess with you? This is like making my day.
I did send some sort of proof.
Well, you either provide proof like you promised the DA early on, or the whole plea bargain goes away and we start over. So take your time.
All right, Judge.
All right, thanks. And Miss Munoz,
Yes,
based on the premise that your attorney has represented, you spent 2 days in the Kerr County Jail on the warrant for this particular case. The state has offered a plea bargain. Such that the court accepts your plea of no contest to the offense of theft. $100 to $750. I find you guilty. It says 4 days in the Bexar County Jail, a $0 fine plus court costs, credit for time served, time and money to run concurrent, judgment satisfied. Anything further from the state or the defense on Ms. Munoz?
10 days.
10 days.
Further, Your Honor.
Pat, start the clock now.
Yes, sir.
All right.
I think it's just one phone call if you get somebody on the end of the phone that knows what they're doing.
Yeah, I haven't found them there yet.
All right. Well, good luck on all that.
All
All
right,
right. Good luck, Ms. Munoz. Thank you, Randy.
All right,
Thank you.
later.
Okay, and clause 588035, Mr. Mora.
Yes, Your Honor.
State, you got a motion on this one too, do you not?
Yes, Your Honor, the state
Go
moves
ahead.
to waive count 1, which is a DWI count, and proceed on count 2, obstruction.
All right, let me do some writing here, guys. And this started out life as a straight DWI first, correct? Everybody agree?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Mr. Mora, on clause 588035, the state's motion to amend the information adding paragraph 2 alleging obstruction of a highway, no objection from the defense is granted. The state waiving paragraph 1 and proceeding on paragraph 2 obstruction of a highway is granted, no objection from the defense. Therefore, Mr. Mora, to the charge of obstruction of a highway, how do you plead, sir?
No contest.
All right, is there an agreement for Mr. Mora?
There is, Your Honor.
Yes, Judge. 16 months deferred adjudication, $850 fine. We ask the court probate $300. Court costs 48 hours of community service. We also ask the court to probate 12 hours. Regular UAs, DOEP, DWI education, DIP live, CATSNP program. And we also ask for a reimburse DPS for the labs in the amount of $120. And we're going open, Judge, in regards to the Smart Start mobile device. The state recommends Smart Start mobile device will have the term due to the facts and the nature of the opens.
Okay, and what are you going to open on, whether or not this person gets a Smart Start mobile, is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, and Mr. Lambert, you've been around for a long time and you know that we put everybody on a Smart Start mobile. It's got anything to do with doing some serious social drinking, do you not?
I do, Your Honor. We did have some, so at the time, if the court will allow, I'll build some testimony. We can get into that. Or would you prefer I give you our side of it?
Go ahead.
At this time, Mr. Mora has, for the past 8 months, he got promoted and he's been working for Titan Factory Homes. Part of his job is to drive clients around to the sites where they're building the homes, as well as take them to the model homes to walk them through. He uses his car, so we were asking not to get an ignition interlock. And in regards to the Smart Start mobile, he is in a sales position. So for him to walk around and have to leave for 4 hours, it could possibly affect his job. We wanted to see if we could potentially do a scram device. We wanted to see if we could do more community service, if there's anything that we could do to reduce the amount of time he'd have to take away from work.
Okay, here's how the Smart Start mobile device works. It's originally set up at 4 blows a day. Each defendant gets 2 hours window to blow 4 times a day. So that's 8 hours of time to blow 4 times. So I would think he can go excuse himself and use the restroom or something and then blow in the machine sometime within that 2-hour window. I'll be happy to give him scram. I think you're calling fire down on your own position at $300+ a month when it's not really necessary. But if that's what y'all want to do, I don't have a problem with it. I suggest you try the Smart Start Mobile for a while and see if I'm right and that works okay. And if that not, we can always switch to the scram if you want to, but that I don't want to cause the defendant any more money cost than is normally required.
He did have the Smart Start at the beginning of probation with his prior attorney. And I think he thought it was a 30-minute window.
Yeah, it's 2 hours. Is Susan, is it not 2 hours? Am I quoting the correct verse?
Yes, Judge, it's a 2-hour window that they have in order to provide their test.
Mr. Mora, do you mind if we go to a breakout room, I guess, and discuss that?
Go ahead.
Okay. Sorry, Judge, I don't want to mess up your.
Take your time.
Thank you.
Okay, let's do cause 629-302, State of Texas versus Meunier Melancon. And state, you got a motion on this case too, it would appear.
Yes, Your Honor. The state moves to amend the charging document to add count 2 obstruction.
All right, let me do a little writing here. And no objection from the defense, that will be granted. And state, you want to waive paragraph 1 now?
Yes, Your Honor. State waives and abandons count 1 and proceeds on count 2 obstruction.
Once again, no objection from the defense, that will be granted. Therefore, Ms. Melancon, to the charge of obstruction of a highway. How do you plead, ma'am?
I plead guilty.
See, your paperwork says no contest. Is that correct, Kirk?
No contest.
No contest. Yes,
The
sir.
court accepts the plea of no contest to the offense of obstruction of a highway. Is there an agreement for Ms. Melancon?
Yes, Your Honor. 12 months deferred adjudication, $500 fine, court cost, 48 hours community service, DWI education, victim impact panel, CatSnip, Smart Start Mobile for half the term, and regular UAs.
And Mr. Sherman, is that your understanding of the agreement?
Yes, sir.
Let's make sure I get it right. Okay, Ms. Melancon, in cause 629-302, the court accepts your plea of no contest to the offense of obstruction of a highway. Although I have enough evidence to find you guilty, I'm going to withhold the finding of guilt. Place you on 1 year, deferred adjudication probation. It says a $500 fine plus court costs, 48 hours community service, DWI education course, DWI victim impact panel, Community Alliance for Traffic Safety New Intervention Program, Smart Start Mobile, home interlock at 4 blows a day for 1/2 the term, which is 6 months, and regular urinalysis tests. Anything further from the state of the defense of Ms. Melancon?
Nothing further from the state.
Good luck, Ms. Melancon. Thank you, Mr. Sherman. Y'all are excused.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Lambert's still out? Yeah, all right. This is cause number 588-035, State of Texas versus Nicholas G. Mora. And state, you have a motion on this one too, it would appear. Oh, that's when they're out talking.
Yes, Your Honor. Yes.
Let's try again. Cause number 666630, State of Texas versus Natalie K. Torres with Mr. Priest. And Ms. Torres for the charge of theft, $100 to $750. How do you plead, ma'am?
No contest, Your Honor.
Is there an agreement for Ms. Torres, please?
Yes, Your Honor. 5 months deferred adjudication, a $250 fine, court cost, 36 hours community service, an anti-theft course, the anti-theft shoplifting course, Your Honor, a
Right.
stress course, and no contact with Walmart at 7239 Loop 410, San Antonio, Texas, 78252.
Okay, Mr. Priest, it's my policy. I don't pick out individual stores. If we have a problem with Walmart, we're not going to any Walmart stores during the term of probation. Is that acceptable to the defense?
That's okay, Judge. Is that okay, Ms. Torres?
Yes.
That's the only variation on y'all's plea bargain. Otherwise, it's fine. So let me run through this and make sure we get it right. Mr. Priest, is that the rest of the representation by the state correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you. Ms. Torres, in cause 666630, the court accepts your plea of no contest to the offense of theft, $100 to $750. Although I have enough evidence to find you guilty, I'm going to withhold a finding of guilt. Place you on 5 months for adjudication probation. He says a $250 fine plus court cost, 36 hours community service, ATSE, which is our anti-theft course, in order to have no contact with Walmart stores in San Antonio, Bexar County, Texas during the term of your probation. Anything further from the state of the defense on Ms. Torres?
Not from the defense, Your Honor.
Okay, good luck, Ms. Torres. Thank you, Mr. Priest.
Does she need to stay online and talk to probation, Judge?
Susan, you want to answer that?
No, as I mentioned before, she will be contacted via email to set up a Zoom orientation.
Okay,
If she
thank you.
doesn't have it by then she needs to call the intake desk next Monday at 210-335-7446.
Okay, thank you. May I be excused, Judge?
Yeah, thanks for your help.
Thank you, Judge.
Okay, back on the record on 588035, Data Texas versus Nicholas Mora, Mr. Lambert, and I don't remember what reason y'all went out to chat. Go ahead.
It was in regards to the Smart Start or the Scram device. Your
Oh,
Honor.
yeah. Okay.
Your Honor, I did speak with my client. We are okay with moving with the Smart Start. We know that's required. Is there any way we could, I think the term is a half term. He did have it for 4 months prior on his pretrial. Is there any way we can get any of that added to it to reduce the amount of time he has it?
Nice try. For all practical purposes, whatever they did on pretrial doesn't count. It's all from this point forward. So
Understood, Your Honor.
I understand. I think he's done well. I don't think we had any problems with him at all. But it's a plea bargain between you and the state, and I really have nothing to do with that except I bust him every once in a while. But
Gotcha, Your Honor.
so if we're looking at 8 months deferred adjudication, so that'd be 4 months.
It's 16 months, so eight
I'm
months.
sorry, 16 months. And that'd be 8 months on the Smart Start mobile. If he does well for the first, say, 3 or 4 months, you might want to talk to the state. They might say, hey, great, he's not having any problem. We'll cut you some slack and let you take it off. That's between you and the state.
We'll stick with that one, Your Honor. Then we'll take it.
All right, here's the deal. All right, Mr. Moron, clause 588035. Court accepts your plea of no contest to the offense of obstruction of a highway. Although I have enough evidence to find you guilty, I'm going to withhold a finding of guilt. Place you on 16 months deferred adjudication probation. Assess an $850 fine, probating $300 of that plus court cost. 48 hours of community service, probating 12 hours of that. Regular year analysis test, DOEP course, DWI education, DWI victim impact panel, Community Alliance for Traffic Safety New Intervention Program, $120 reimbursement, Texas Department of Public Safety for lab tests, Smart Start mobile at 4 blows a day for 8 months. Anything further from the state of the defense on Mr. Mora? State, where did we come up with the DOEP course? Was there marijuana involved in the arrest or something? He just wasn't charged with it?
It was a drug-related DWI, Your Honor.
I'm sorry?
It was a drug-related sorry, Mr. Flores. It was a drug-related DWI.
That's correct.
Okay, I got you. Okay, yeah, we need to keep his license going. All right, anything further from the state of the defense on Mr. Mora?
No, Judge.
Nothing from the defense.
Good night, Mr. Mora. Thank you, Mr. Lambert.
Thank you, Judge. Thank you,
Your
Mr.
Honor.
Flores. Benavidez.
Ms. Russell wants to approach regarding a motion to modify conditions, and Alma Benavides is also here to discuss her client.
All right, Ms. Russell and Ms. Benavides, let me explain the facts of life. We have 1,000 folks plus or minus on pretrial, and we have 1,000 folks plus or minus on probation, and every darn one of them's got a lawyer. So I have all your motions. They're in my pile, and I will get to them when I can. I apologize it's that way. We are totally overwhelmed with how all this is working. So I know I have seen both your motions go by, and I put them in my pile, and when I get to them, I will be happy to rule on it. Let me explain and clarify for you more clearly. I have no access to any information on any individual defendant. It all has to go through Pat or my clerk. In the old days, when I'm sitting at the office, I would yell, I need a file on such and such, and they'd bring me the file, and I'd have everything I ever needed to know about somebody right then and there. But nowadays, I've got to text Pat and she's got to talk to the clerks, or she's got to run me a copy of the D page. And all that takes time. And I'm sorry it's that way, but that's the only way I can educatedly make a decision on this stuff. So I'm going to get to you. I just don't know when it's going to be. Hopefully soon.
I understand, Judge. We actually don't want you to sign it. We want a hearing.
You want a hearing?
Yes, Judge. We need to put some things on the record in this particular case. And we want a hearing.
I just sent you a copy.
We did file an order requesting hearing on it. I guess I didn't know how else to signify to you that we wanted a hearing.
Your Honor, I just emailed you the document.
Pre-trial motion. And what is the name of your client, Elizabeth?
His name is
Jack Miller.
Jack Miller.
M-U-L-L-E-R?
Miller, Judge.
Okay.
Cause number 633-089.
If there was any way to organize this stuff, I would be happy to.
I know, yeah,
As it
I
is, I'm going
understand.
through my pile.
And I'm happy to resend it to you.
Well, I'm sure you're in my file somewhere. Can we have your hearing right now, or do I have to get ready for it?
I think my client would like to be here, Judge,
Okay.
but we will make ourselves available.
All right. I can't find it. Let me find it, and what's today? Thursday?
Yes.
We can have your hearing sometime next week, probably on, what's a good time, Pat? At the end of arraignment docket on Tuesday, maybe? Like 4 o'clock on Tuesday?
Sure.
Is that okay with you, Elizabeth?
I'm checking out some depositions. That is good with me.
Okay,
right.
then I will.
Judge.
Yep, go ahead, Guillermo.
Yes, so it appears that this case is handled by the Special Crimes Division. So we only ask the court, I guess, give us sufficient notice so we can notify them and they can appear and be
Tuesday at
and be
4.
part of the hearing. Tuesday?
Tuesday at 4.
All right.
What is the offense on this case that we're dealing with?
There's several, Judge. It started with, oh my gosh, give me just a moment. The most recent offense is a harassment charge, but prior to that, I think it was a resisting arrest. And give me a moment. I was specially appointed on it, so I don't have my normal appointment.
I have all his pending cases up. He has a pending night mag on assault of a peace officer, a resisting arrest, transportation, disorderly conduct, discharge, display, obstruction of a passageway, and a harassment.
That's it?
That's it, Judge.
And what is your ultimate request? Do I have him on bad things like full GPS and stuff now? What have I done?
Well, no, Judge, he is a Second Amendment protester. He makes his living by holding law enforcement agencies accountable to the Constitution. And part of that is by carrying weapons outside, legally carrying weapons outside of police agencies, courtrooms, etc. And he has been limited and restricted in his ability to travel, but then most recently, his ability to own a gun and possess a gun.
Okay, and I apologize. Spell his last name for me, because this is starting to get really interesting.
It is very interesting, Judge. Miller.
M as in Mike, I as in India, R as in Romeo.
No, L is in Lake. I don't know.
Lima.
Lima, thank you. I'm not good with those.
M-I
L
O
L
Miller, just a common Miller.
All right, Pat, send me what we got on this guy at your.
I will do that as soon as
Before
we're finished.
Tuesday at 4. Now, Guillermo, did y'all have a problem with Tuesday at 4? Because we got all next week. We can stick it in anywhere. It's good for everybody.
Yes,
This
Judge.
sounds
we'll
exciting.
notify-
Don't move to felony until you get a chance to participate in this one, Guillermo, because this one could be exciting.
I'll be watching, Judge. Yes, we'll
right.
notify.
Let Megan do it.
As soon as we get off, I will send you all the information regarding it.
Okay, so
Thank
what
you.
we're
Yes, sir.
dealing with is a crusader, but he's crusading for a good cause. Is that kind of where we're at, Elizabeth?
Yes, Judge, we couldn't be happier with the court we have landed in.
All righty, then we'll see you then Tuesday at 4.
And State, if you have a problem, do that, just get back to us and we'll reschedule, but we need to give Elizabeth as much advance time as we can so that she can, and her client can get ready for it.
Yes, Your
Okay?
Honor.
All right, we're good to go on, Elizabeth. Alma, you can start yelling at me anytime. Go ahead.
Hi, Judge. Good afternoon.